So today we went over the Kimura. It's like a figure 4 hold on your opponent's wrist. Yeah, so you're holding your opponent's wrist with one arm, and then your other hand is holding your wrist. And the general idea is to put pressure on his shoulder or his upper arm. Yeah, so it's really interesting. And what we did today is we entered into it from 3 different positions. The full guard, when your opponent's wrestling up on you, or like a single leg on you, and from the half guard. And then we did a sweep from the half guard using the Kimura grip. So what's interesting is that the fundamentals are the same. The hold is the exact same from any way that you enter into it. And then you sort of manipulate yourself around your opponent. You can manipulate yourself around. And then, so even though you're entering it from different positions, you can wind up in the same position. It's sort of like, I don't know, one of those kids' puzzles where you're, like those 3D puzzles, where you can look at it from one direction and it looks completely different from another direction, but you just rotate it and you're like, oh, it's the same thing. So it's just really, it's interesting that not only, so you can use, because it's essentially the same position, you can use the same sort of forces of the same directional forces in one orientation as you can in another, but then you can also apply pressure through the hold, so then you could force your opponent into different orientations, right? So for me right now it's a little hard to conceptualize, for example, when I'm on top versus when I'm on the bottom. So I'm more comfortable when I'm on top to apply the hold, so I can actually use the hold to force the position where I'm on top and then finish it off from that orientation, rather than, you know, trying to figure out when I'm on the bottom, for example. So it's really interesting that you can use the position not only to as a submission, but as a way of forcing your opponent to assume a position that you're comfortable in, more comfortable in, and submit him from there. Yeah, so position is just as a matter of control as well as a manner of submitting, and also just that orientation is somewhat meaningless. Well, it's meaningful in that to your brain you might feel more comfortable one way or another, but in reality it's the same. I mean, there are some differences like gravity, right? If you're on top versus bottom, if you're on top, gravity works with you, while if you're on bottom, it works against you, or, you know, depending on the pressures you're putting on. But yeah, another thing is that someone told me that closed guard is essentially a mount. You are in the same orientation, right? Your hips are above your opponent's hips and you're forward. So anything you can do in closed guard, you can do in mount. So while most people think, you know, mount is much better than closed guard, which it is obviously, but because you have gravity and you have all your weight on your opponent, but all the sort of forces of I don't know, directional forces can apply. So you can probably adapt most closed guard techniques to mount. Just needs to be more precise and have to figure out how to apply pressure. If you know, in mount, you're using gravity to assist you how to apply that pressure on your own or against gravity.